Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan,
what has Lamar done to not deserve to get paid?
I am a huge Joe Flacco fan.
Wise
Usher once said, situations will arise in our lives.
I'm talking about shut down. Like you not throwing on Jimmy Smith. Joe is criminally underrated. Criminally, lock him up in cuffs. Criminally underrated. Lamar's put this team as a top 5 offense for the first time in 20 years.
Got the arm talent.
Jay Cutler had it too.
I don't care about this argument against total TDs and all this.
Oh, you want to talk about defense? Oh,
until next time. Look, man, I'm not ready. I want to go back to last week. I want to replay Sunday's game and get it right again, man. I do. Like, can we do that? Cause where the click remote at, man? I ain't got no remote. But look, where the click remote at? Where you can just click, go back. We can redo it. Well, I guess if it was that case, everybody would do it, right? But it's just interesting, man. Like, once again, I feel like it's funny because the title of the live stream, at least, is "I'm still not ready for this Ravens offseason," right? For a variety of reasons. Okay. There's a variety of reasons why I'm not ready for the Ravens offseason. I think first things first, I'm not ready for the Ravens offseason because I don't want it to end, man. I don't want it to end. I really don't. I hate that the season is over. It still feels like somebody's gonna pinch me and wake me up, and we're gonna be back playing in the Super Bowl this week. But it's just not true, right? It's just not true, and it's crazy, man. Like it's crazy. It's crazy to think, bro, that the Ravens season is over. And the other reason why I don't think I'm ready for this Ravens offseason is that we have to face more Lamar Jackson criticism. And I'm going to start right there, man. I'm going to start right there because it's interesting. It's interesting as I plan for the show, as I think about things to talk about. Obviously, they come right to you with social media and all that, but it's just interesting, man. It feels like this offseason is going to be more the same as last year, right? Last year, it was like a civil war between Ravens flock. Sign Lamar, let him go, right? Lamar's not worth the money. Lamar's definitely worth the money, right? Let Lamar go to another team. He'll be fine, but we want to keep him here, right? Like, it was a civil war last year about Lamar Jackson and the contract. And then the total gym thing came. And then they started talking about, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who apparently was speaking on behalf of him. And then you got, everybody had an opinion last year. And it was two schools of thought. It was pro Lamar, anti Lamar pretty much. And there was really nobody in the middle. There wasn't a lot of people that was like, well, I mean, I'll be happy either way. Right. I was definitely like, sign this man. You ever had, y'all realize y'all ain't had an MVP offensive player in the history of your organization, right? Let's be honest about these things. Okay. Because we don't like to be sometimes. But other people were like, if he want to go, let him go. He asked for a trade, let him go. Which, like we talked about before, could have just been a negotiation tactic, but we don't need to get into that. The root of the Civil War right now is, does Lamar get enough criticism? I'll restate that one again just for you all out there, my audio people on all major podcasting platforms listening in, and also my video people as well. Does Lamar get enough blame? Look, man, it's interesting, man. It's interesting that I asked this question because I've just been seeing it this week, and people have been going in on Lamar, and we know how the national media is. And I'm not even talking about necessarily the national media. I'm sure I'll make a point about the national media here in a little bit. I'm specifically talking about Ravens fans who are so quick to criticize Lamar. Now, several Lamarites, well, there's another name that I ain't even gonna say because it might kick me off YouTube, so I'm not gonna say that one. But there's a lot of, let's just say, Lamar supporters that still criticize Lamar Jackson. And it's weird. And I guess this is my thing. I think this is my thing with it. I think first off, I think there's layers to this. This is an onion of why people don't really want to criticize Lamar. First off, don't he get enough from the national media? And we talking about not even about his play. We talking about not even about things that's necessarily his fault. Don't he get enough? Right? Like, doesn't he get enough? I mean, these guys talking about he can't throw outside the numbers with no outside receiver to throw outside the numbers too. So doesn't he get enough from the national media? But my other question for y'all, in terms of to explain, and it's not a question, it's a statement, to explain why people don't really want to criticize Lamar. Do you see what this man has to do to keep the Ravens afloat? Like, let's think back, right? Let's just think back all the way back to his rookie year when the defense couldn't get a big stop when they needed to, right? I feel like Lamar Jackson isn't even truly allowed to have bad games. Everybody else, cool, let him have them. Let him have a bad game. He had a bad game, sweeping it, and it's weird because I only see it from Ravens fans, but of course, I interact and see and read and talk to Ravens fans more than I talk to Bills fans, more than I talk to Cardinals fans, more than I talk to Chiefs fans, more than I talk to, I'm sure all fan bases have this, but it's obviously prevalent within Ravens flock because that's who I'm talking to week on this darn show. But it's interesting to me because it's like, do y'all not see what this dude has to do to even keep this team afloat in a lot of games? Have y'all not seen the receivers this dude has had to work with? Have you not seen this dude win 2 MVPs and the Ravens don't even have an offensive MVP in their history, much less a 2-time MVP outside of Lamar Jackson? Did you not see Lamar Jackson have to play through his 5th year to show the Ravens why he deserved to be paid when literally the Ravens can't win without him? That's why a lot of guys are truly apologetic for Lamar Jackson. And I think it's been kind of consistent through Ravens history with the quarterbacks, especially when you go back to Joe, when you go back to Lamar, of course, too. And Lamar's done more than Joe when it comes to, with MVPs and leading the league in touchdown passes, all of that. He's done that. The only thing he's missing truly is the Super Bowl, right? But it's just interesting, man, because I literally, before I went live, happened to come across this. And I'm gonna read it out. Shout out to Garnett West. I know he hosts some spaces. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen too for you guys. But I know he hosts some spaces and stuff too from time to time, just to talk about what's going on. And I just find this interesting, right? So Garnett said, in the divisional round, we praised Lamar for making adjustments and speaking up to the coaches and the players about playing better and changing up the game plan. Now, Lamar S-Fuels, that's how I'm going to say it, because I don't want YouTube to try to take me down on this one, wants to put the blame on everybody else but Lamar. Now, he's responding to T'Challa. Shout out to him, too. He was responding to him just basically saying, that Harbaugh basically just blamed Lamar, saying that the game plan was a lot of RPOs and checks at the line of scrimmage, and the Chiefs stacked the box, meaning Lamar decided what to do at the line of scrimmage. All right. So shout out to both of those guys for helping out and not even knowing it. But look, this is interesting to me. This conversation, because we're going back and forth to a certain degree on this topic. My real question is, why is it? Here's my thing. Lamar Jackson accounts for like 90% of the Ravens offense. He leads the team in passing. He leads the team in rushing. And if it wasn't for Gus Edwards taking every Lamar touchdown in the red zone, he would have far more touchdowns than he does. But I just find it interesting, right? This is just me. I find it interesting that we want to put all the criticism on Lamar Jackson, but none of the criticism on the coaches, specifically one in particular, in John Harbaugh. I don't know if it's because he's a Hall of Famer, because he is, right? I don't know if it's because, or a future Hall of Famer, I should say. I don't know if it's because he's won a Super Bowl, because he has. I don't know if it's because he's been around for 15, 16 years. I don't know if it's because everybody else says he's a top 10, top 5 coach. But we never want to put the blame on the coaches for literally abandoning their game plan. Because let's be honest, Lamar Jackson has sense, right? Like he knows what he's seeing in front of him, right? And Monken watches the plays from the sideline. I mean, from the press box, so he can see like, okay, I just saw Lamar check into that. You don't need to check into that. He can put the headset on, whatever, and talk to Lamar and say, "Hey, Lamar, you don't. I think we can run the ball, right? Like let's go a couple of plays. You know, I'm gonna give you a buzzword, and we gonna run this ball just to see if we can get something going. Because what if Lamar is seeing something different? What if Lamar is getting frazzled, right? What if, and this is something that people don't think about, but y'all realize the Ravens don't really know how to play from behind, right? Because they're never behind. So when they do, they start pressing. They want to get back into the game and they want to get it fast. That's why they're going for all these big plays. So as a coach, John Harbaugh and Todd Monken too, but John Harbaugh, because you're right there in his face, right? Why don't you? I don't see a lot of John Harbaugh going to players after they make a mistake or after he sees something and says, "Hey, let's try to get the run game going, right? Let's try to get the run game going. I'm gonna reward you by getting the run game going. We'll do like a play action or something like that, something people aren't really expecting." But I will say that's my issue, right? My issue is, yes, Lamar deserves blame. He threw an interception, right? He threw an interception, but interestingly enough, we want to blame Lamar for not playing, I guess, up to his standard, but we don't want to put any blame on Zay because we want to say he's a rookie. But then we don't want to just gloss over the fact that Lamar Jackson lost in the playoffs as a rookie and didn't really play his best game either. But that's beside the point. So what I'm saying is, in this situation, like instead of, and that's the thing, like people want to say Lamar Eschuels, right? That's funny. People want to say Lamarites, whatever. I get it. For the people who don't give him, I mean, I've never seen it. That don't mean it's not true. I've never seen it. I've never seen anybody just blindly say Lamar played perfectly. Blindly say Lamar is not at fault without true context, right? I've seen some trolls say it, but I mean, I've seen plenty of times where people have said, I mean, Lamar Jackson has to do a lot, but yeah, he got to play better. That's what I tend to see. So, I mean, I don't know. And maybe I should be privy to these conversations a little bit more and try to look a little bit more for those guys who just say Lamar's at fault. But even T'Challa, literally last year, he was talking about how Lamar could go, right? So he's definitely not a Lamarite, as they say, right? Like I'm sure he is a fan of Lamar. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, you should be a fan of Lamar because I hate to tell y'all this, but Lamar Jackson, the two-time MVP, is the only two-time MVP besides Patrick Mahomes out of active quarterbacks, outside of a future Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. So all those other guys y'all want to compare Lamar Jackson to and compare his playoff record and compare his Super Bowl appearances with, Josh Allen ain't got none, right? Joe Burrow don't have MVPs. He's went to one Super Bowl, but he don't have MVPs. So, and I know the individual aspect doesn't matter. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the individual aspect is even a part of this whole conversation. All I'm saying is we want to compare Lamar Jackson to everybody, but Lamar Jackson, once again, is a product of his own early on success. We're not going to discredit CJ Stroud for playing bad in the game in his second ever playoff game against the Ravens, but we'll criticize Lamar Jackson for playing bad when not only did the coaches go away from the run game against Tennessee, but also he didn't have even as good of receivers as C.J. Stroud had during this time. But anyway, I just find that interesting. Like, we're kind of at this like civil war type situation with the Ravens fans again, and it's just crazy to think, man. And back to the original question: does Lamar get enough blame? Right? Does Lamar get enough blame? I mean, yeah, right. And I say it kind of uncertainly because I get what people are saying. Like, I understand what people are saying in terms of like there probably are blind people who just don't, not blind people, but there probably are people who are just like, well, Lamar Jackson does contribute to 90% of this offense. He leads this team in passing and in rushing, and that shouldn't be a thing, right? Because it ain't helped any other quarterbacks be successful in this league. So why would it help Lamar Jackson? So that's my thing. Like that's my biggest thing in that regard is I get it. I understand what you're coming from, but like, let's not forget what this dude has to do. Let's not forget the offensive line he has to play with. Let's not forget that the receivers dropped the ball too, right? Let's not forget that Lamar Jackson didn't fumble going across the goal line, right? So, like, it's not all on him. Yeah, is some of it on him? Okay, yeah, I'm cool with that, right? I'm cool with it. I'm sure plenty of people are like, yeah, some of it's on him. He could have played a better game. He could have played a more perfect game. But then again, you shouldn't always have to play. That goes back to it. I'm going to end it off right there. You shouldn't always have to play perfect for your team to win games. I'm going to end it right there because sometimes that's how it feels. It feels like Lamar Jackson has to be perfect, has to be Superman. It's interesting. I saw another. I don't know if I can find it, but I saw. There was a tweet about this, about Lamar Jackson having to be Superman, and here it is. I got it up. I'll pull this up. Honestly, from the same. Actually, I think it's from the same person. I think it's from the same person who where this not started but continued, I will say. But I find this interesting, right? I find this interesting. I'm gonna pull this one up too, just so y'all can see it. Because once again, Lamar Jackson should not have to play perfect for the Ravens to win anyway, is my point. Every time. Now, there should be some perfect games. There should be some perfect passer ratings if we want to go there. There should be some games with no turnovers. But these are human quarterbacks we talking about, not robots, not AI. I know we love AI right now, but not AI, right? So there are going to be some mistakes. That's just how it's going to be. Same thing with Zay fumbling in the end zone. Same thing with the overthrow, likely not out muscling everybody and getting the throw in the triple coverage. Like, mistakes are going to be made. Not that likely is their fault. No. But I want to pull this one up too, just so y'all can see it. Just so y'all can see it, because this is the Ravens' identity sometimes. And it literally says, like, I read it, but I didn't even realize that, it was kind of coinciding exactly with what I was going to say. But it says the Ravens' identity on offense is, quote, Lamar, save us, unquote. He can most times, which is why he will be a 2-time MVP within his first 6 seasons. He can in the playoffs, which is why the Ravens are 2-4 in the tournament and have scored above 20 points in only 2 of their contests. Right? So, yes, I mean, he's right. This person, shout out to Entropic, right? This person is right. He can't, and I don't want to say he can't save us in the playoffs. I want to say he can't always save us in the playoffs, because Patrick Mahomes, even in the game we just saw, did not have to be perfect for them to win that game. He had to be efficient. He had to be good, but he did not have to be perfect. And his defense made up for it, right? Even though Mahomes and company could not score in the second half, his defense made up for it. So, I mean, I think I mean, does he get enough blame? I think so, right? I mean, for a guy who gets unfair criticism literally every moment of every every moment of every time, like I think he gets I think he gets blame enough. Right now, you argue, does he get enough credit? Or like, does he get too much credit? I don't think, no, he doesn't get too much credit either. Because it's the same guy who every time he does do something, the goalpost moves on how to be a quarterback, on how to be an MVP, on how to be that guy. So we always have to remember that. But I just find that very, very interesting. All right, part 2 of this one right here as we continue. Since I went a little longer on that one, this will actually be the last part of this show. Look, Mike McDonald, our boy, right? Mike McDonald is gone. All right. And not the usual way that our coordinators tend to go, but the way you would want to go if you are a coach in this league. And he got the head coaching job at the good old Seattle Seahawks. Who takes over in his place? Zach Orr, the former Ravens linebacker. Injury shortened his career, but even still, I mean, a very good linebacker in his time. Had a lot of opportunities. I'm on the wrong thing. That's all good. I tend to do that more often than I should, but but anyway, Mike McDonald in Seattle, right? He is Seattle's head coach. He's taking on I think a pretty good team. It's a good situation for him. I wish he would have stayed to try to go, make one more run at it. But I mean, I get it when that opportunity comes. You never know when that opportunity is going to come, and when it does, you got to take it. You have to take it. You have to take your chances. And I don't really blame him. Now, Zach Orr is the new defensive coordinator. I think. As the question says below, I think he will keep that same energy. I think he will be everything that this defense needs to kind of keep going. But Mike McDonald's that's a tough ask. To replace Mike McDonald, that's a tough ask. Because, I mean, we talking about a guy who literally last year, probably after, like, the Dolphins game, pretty much adjusted and never looked back. Now, albeit, the Roquan Smith trade was big for him. That was big for him, but and that kind of like turned it up 18 notches, right? Like, I mean, that turned it up, that double, tripled the output of what this defense is. But Zach Orr will be good. But I do want to say this. Yes, Mike McDonald is gone, and I get it. A lot of people, I understand because he's a great coordinator. He's a great defensive play caller. He's great at scheming. Like, honestly, he kind of gave the Ravens a little bit more of an old school feel that we haven't had in a while, especially under Wink. Where there was coverage disguised and blitz disguised and late blitzes and all that, and being able to get home without 4 guys and without kind of an elite pass rusher either. I mean, Clowney maybe, but Clowney's up there. It's not Clowney, his rookie year, second, third year, or whatever. This is Clowney as he gets older. So, and still be able to play at that level. But honestly, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, and some of y'all might be mad about this, about me saying this, but yes, Mike McDonald is gone, and it's sad, right? It's sad. It's gonna be a little bit of an adjustment, but I hate to tell y'all this. Don't really matter, right? Like, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm not saying that in a way of to discredit what Mike McDonald did, because we obviously know what he did. My point is, it doesn't matter because a variety of reasons. But first off, it don't matter because this team needs to build on the offense anyway, right? Like, we built a excellent defense for, and let me rephrase that. We've built a pretty good to excellent defense for the past. I mean, if we just want to just talk about right now, we built an excellent to pretty good defense the last 6 years, right? Like, even Wink's defenses were good. Even Wink's defenses ranked high. They couldn't get a stop when you needed them to get one, but they still ranked high. They still were good. They still were good defenses. And this is the thing. The Ravens, the Ravens aren't going to have a bad defense. It's not. It's like in their DNA. It's not going to happen. It don't even really matter who's out there. It don't even really matter the players. Of course, keep the key guys you got. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, they can mix and match a little bit and do their thing. So I don't think Mike McDonald being gone necessarily matters too much. But I also don't think it matters because regardless of who the defensive coordinator has been, kind of regardless of who the offensive coordinator has been, the offense has still been good under Lamar Jackson, right? The offense has still been a top 5 offense. The offense has still been scoring at a better clip than the Ravens have ever scored in the history of the organization. So this is a perfect time to build on the offense. Grab you one more guy, right? You know, depending on what you're going to do with Odell, I think if you're going to re-sign Odell, I still would like to have another guy, right? But you know, I think it, you know, because I don't think Odell and Aguilar stay. I think one of them go, and I think it wouldn't hurt to have, and like I said, keep going with Bateman too. Bateman's open. Bateman deserves chances, and I think honestly, I think Bateman didn't get chances because I think there may have been some distrust between him and Lamar, but I think some of the stuff with Bateman is I feel like Bateman was almost a decoy because he could get open. I know that sounds weird and probably doesn't even make sense if you think about it too much, but sometimes, you know, some stuff you gotta not think about too much because it makes too much darn sense, like running you know, sticking to your identity. But I will say, like, I think you know, it's time to build on this offense, you know, continue to build on this offense. It's time to get you a stud running back. It's time to get you probably another stud receiver. You know, pair that with Bateman, pair that with Zay, you know, and of course Mark Andrews and likely. And, you know, it's time for this offense to take over a little bit more. Because I mean, the defense is gonna be good regardless. It's in the Ravens' DNA. They always have a good defense. And the offense is gonna be good as long as Lamar Jackson is playing quarterback. Because regardless, the Ravens are always that's why, like, you know, there's a lot of fear about John Harbaugh. It's a whole another topic for a whole nother day. But, you know, there's a lot of fear about John Harbaugh in the future of the Ravens. And I'm going to be honest, I don't care about the fear because as long as Lamar Jackson is playing quarterback, the Ravens are going to be contending. You know, they might have to make some superhuman plays to overcome some bad coaching. But, you know, it's definitely going to be one of those things where they're going to be contending regardless. So Mike McDonald is gone. We hate to see it. I'm happy for him though. I'm happy that you know, he found him a head coaching job. I'm happy that he came in, did what he needed to do, you know, showed his defensive prowess and then was able to move up, and especially as quickly as he did. And I think we're seeing that more and more nowadays. You know, you see with Dave Canellis over in Carolina, you know, a guy who was a 1-year coordinator showed that he could work with young or middle of the pack quarterbacks, and, you know, he can make them into valuable starters. And, you know, just because he only had 1 year of experience doesn't mean he's not worth being, you know, worth getting a chance at being a head coach. Because I mean, even with Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur and all those guys, like, they weren't necessarily coordinators for a long, long time. Mike McDonald and those guys, they weren't coordinators for a long time before they became head coaches. So, you know, I think that's kind of just the era that we're in. You know, you ain't sticking around for a long time. You know, you sticking around for a good time, maybe get you a Super Bowl or something with that team, and then head on and get your head coaching gig. You know, but I hate that he couldn't win one with the Ravens. I hate that it couldn't be this year, but, you know, don't need to relive that anymore. I do want to say real quick, and this is unrelated to the topic, but I do want to say shout out to Raven C. I don't know if he'll tune into this, but I should have said it earlier, but I don't know if he'll tune into this. But shout out to Raven C because it's just interesting, and maybe it is kind of relevant to the Mike McDonald topic, but it is interesting that to watch the game back. I like how Raven C does his highlights. I do. I like how he does his his highlight reactions, so you can kind of just relive the game as he was, you know, watching the game. And I like how he does it because, you know, it kind of takes you back to how you felt in that moment. And it's crazy to think how close the Ravens really were. Like, it's crazy, bro. Like, let's be honest. Even with running the ball only 8 times in the game, right? Even without running the ball only 8 times in the game, not playing your game, turning the ball over twice, you still were only 7 points away. And when you really think about it, imagine how different that game would have looked if at the beginning of the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter, you're only down by 3, without the fumble, and it was a great play by Snead, but just imagine if Zay can find any way to hang on to the ball or get down at the 1 and then you hand it off and you score, how much different that game could be, man. Like how much different that game would have been. It's crazy. Like even just watching it back, man. Even just watching it back, I'm sitting there and I'm like, even not even playing well, right? Once again, not even really having an identity, but the Lamar Save Us identity. Still, you sitting there and you like, we're so close. We were so close. And if you score right there, I mean, it changes everything because obviously the defense could have stopped them, right? And honestly, the defense was, if Valdez don't get behind them, they almost gave you another chance. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. And, of course, Ravens kind of fought back a little bit too late. They finally found a little bit of a rhythm, but they found it way too late. But crazy, man. It's just crazy when you look back on it, and it's just crazy to think like how close the Ravens really were to going back to the Super Bowl with a team that's been just as impressive as they can be. And I think that's what's frustrating about all of it, man, is how good this team is, how good this team has played, how good, and honestly, we talk about like the jitters and being coming out flat and stuff like that. And RG3 made a good point too. And I'm about to wrap up, I promise. But RG3 made a good point. He was talking about how, as a coach, he probably wouldn't rest everybody the whole game for that week 18. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, even with the Chiefs, I don't think they do that, right? Like even when they've, the last couple of times they've had the number one, the last couple of playoff appearances, they've had the number 1 seed. And I don't think they've ever rested. And I don't know if that's because they were still playing for the number 1 seed back then. Like the Ravens got to stop putting away seasons so darn quickly, man. They put away seasons so darn quickly, and then you like, should they sit or should they not, man? What you do? But anywho, man, like it's just crazy. It's just crazy to think, man, how close the Ravens were. But I think the good part about it is you get a chance to, you finally get to the AFC Championship game. One play here, one play there changes the trajectory of that game. It likely goes up and mosses everybody on that play, or if the pass interference is called, it's a completely different ball game. If, let's say Valdez-Scantling don't catch that ball, you know what I mean? Don't catch that ball to end the game. He drops it like he's done time and time again. I think if the Ravens would have got the ball back, they probably would have won the game by hook or by crook. But, it's just crazy, man. It's crazy how close they were. It's crazy how it just feels like, but the good part about it is, you got 8, right? You got Lamar Jackson coming back. You got some other guys coming back, and the guys that you don't, I think, I'm not saying they're replaceable by no means, but I think defensively, the Ravens going to make that work. The most important part is going to be offensively, because that's where the Ravens have tended to struggle, especially in the playoffs. So we'll definitely see, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't already, and you watched if you did watch the live stream, be sure to let me know below. Give me a hey, give me a what's up, give me a what's up, whatever you got to do. Give me something. Wave at me, send me a hand emoji, whatever you got to do. I don't know if there's a Raven emoji out there, but send that too. If you find it, I'm gonna copy and paste it and put it in my emoji rotation. But I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. Remember that Fly Nation Speaks is on all major podcasting platforms, so be sure to check the podcast out over at them places, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all your favorites, man. Google Podcasts, which I think is not even really a thing anymore. I think that's just on YouTube. But anywho, all your favorite podcasting platforms. Fly Nation Speaks is on all of them. But we're going to definitely slide on out of here. Definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. We see you guys on the next